This is Module 6, Lesson 2 for 7th grade on solving for unknown angles using equations. So in the last lesson, we talked a lot about vocabulary and knowing the vocabulary to a lot of the lessons that we're going to be doing here in Module 6. So knowing that vocabulary can definitely help you a lot in solving these problems. So we're going to kind of use that vocabulary throughout this lesson as well. So two lines meet at a point. In a complete sentence, describe the relevant angle relationships in the diagram and find the angle values for R, S, and T. So this is a great example of one particular definition that we talked about yesterday. So we have this angle measure is 25. Now I can find out what all of these angle measures are by doing one simple rule. And that rule is called vertical angle rule. If you notice, we have a vertex here in the center. If I can go through this angle, hit the vertex, and pop out the other side, that means that this angle is also 25 degrees. So you just solved for angle S. Now, how am I going to solve for R and T? Well, if I look closely, I can see that if I took R and I added in that 25 degree, what do I get? I get a straight angle, which means I can now set this up like an equation. I can say that R plus that 25 degree angle equals 180 degrees. So we're going to subtract 25 from both sides so we can get that R by itself. The R's cancel, and I get R equals 155 degrees. Well, now here's the cool thing. If this is 155 degrees, and I can go through that angle, hit the vertex, and pop out the other side, then this is also 150 degrees. So that's knowing that rule, the vertical angle rule, can make this a lot easier. I had to only do one simple math problem. So it says to describe the situation here, we're going to say that angle 25 plus angle S are equal to each other because they are vertical angles. Angle R plus angle 25 are supplement angles. Supplementary, we could actually say the whole thing. Angles that add to 180 degrees. All right, let's look at example 1. Example 1 says, two lines meet at a point that is also the end point of a ray. In a complete sentence, describe the relevant angle relationships in the diagram and set up the equation and solve for P and R. All right, so we have R being over here. Now, I can see that R is also the same vertical angles of adding these two together. That would be the exact same. So if I said 28 plus 16 also equals R, 28 plus 16 gives me 44, so 44 is R, since those are vertical angles. Now to solve for P, I see that if I took angle R and I added it here, I'd form this straight line. So R plus P equals 180. And now that I know that R is 144, I can just say, or not 144, excuse me, 44. I can say 44 plus that angle P equals 180 degrees. So I'm going to subtract 44 from both sides. And this is P equals 136 degrees. So this angle measure here is 136. Now again, I have a vertical angle here. I could also say that one is also 136 if they were asking for it. So my one sentence, you can just go ahead and write this, that angle 28 and angle 28 plus angle 16 equals angle R because they are vertical angles. And then angle R plus angle P are supplement angles. So basically the same thing we wrote up above, just switching out the different numbers and letters. All right, exercise 1. 3 lines meet at a point. In a complete sentence, describe the relevant angle relationship in the diagram. Set up and solve an equation to find the value of A. So I'm looking for A, and A is this angle right there. All right, now I can see that that's 144. All right, so if this is 144, that means this is also 144, just to point that out. Now, how am I going to solve for angle A? I see that I have 2 angle A's, if you can kind of see that. Okay, it went across. They're not vertical angles. They're not completely across. They would be vertical angles if this whole thing was angle A, but it's not, only a portion of it. But I do have 2 A's. All right, so let's see if I can get your attention and see this. If I said A plus 144 plus A, I would get a straight angle. All right, so now I can actually set up my equation. I see that if I had 2 A's plus that 144, it would equal 180 degrees. All right, so again, I want to solve for A, which means I need to move this 144. So the opposite of adding 144 is to subtract 144 from both sides. Those cancel, and I get 2A equals 36. 2 times what gives me 36? You can divide by 2, and A equals 18. So this is 18 degrees, and this is also 18 degrees. So in a sentence, we would say that angle A plus angle A plus angle 144 added together formed a straight angle of 180 degrees. All right, let's look at example 2. Three lines meet at a point. In a complete sentence, describe the relevant angle relationships in the diagram. Set up and solve for Z. All right, so I need to know what Z is. And Z is going to be this angle right here. And I can tell right here that I have a 19, but look, I also have another degree. They just didn't write it. Whenever you see that little box, that means we have an angle measure. And this angle measure here is 90 degrees. So if you look closely, I can actually say that I could put all 3 of these together and equal 180. Okay, let's try that. So if I say 19 plus 90 plus Z gives me 180 degrees. As I can do, I'm going to kind of do it here in hot pink. These, whoops, my pen stopped working there for a second. These all right there. All right, that's what we're solving for. All right. And just if you're using a calculator, I'm going to take a minute here just to make sure you're using your calculator correctly. We're going to say 19 plus 90, and that's going to give me 109. And I'm just showing this because I know a lot of you guys do use a calculator and you want to make sure you're using it correctly. So plus Z, make sure that doesn't look like a 2, equals 180. All right, so now I'm going to subtract 109 from both sides. Let me show that step. So I'm going to subtract 109. Nope, looks like a plus sign. Subtract, sorry. Those cancel, and I get my z that comes down. And I'm going to say 180, take away 109 is going to give me 71. All right, so this angle measure here is 71. So a couple things you could say here. You could say that you took angle 19 and angle 90, added them together to get 109, and then added in whatever the rest would be, that would equal 180 degrees because all three angles created a straight angle. That would be your description sentence. All right, let's go to the next one. Exercise 2. All right, got a whole bunch of stuff going on here. Three angles meet at a point, angle O or AOF, which equals 144 degrees. Now that 144 degrees is this whole thing here. Don't let that line right there throw you off. It's AOF. In a complete sentence, describe the relevant relationships in the diagram and solve for C. So I am solving for this angle measure right here. Okay. Now, if this over here, I have a couple other angle measures, they just didn't tell me. I have a 90 degree right here. So we have a 90, okay? Now, if I took into account that I could do this added on over here on the other side. If this side's 90, that means this is a perpendicular angle. If this side's 90, that means this side is also 90. Okay, so if I did C plus something equals 90, okay, well, let's see. If I did this plus this, oh, and if I kept going and added in that 144, I'd get a straight angle. So this would be C plus 90 equals 144. So if I subtract that 90 from both sides, those cancel, and I get C equals 54. All right, for your sentence, I'm gonna let you describe what's going on there instead of me telling you. So write your one sentence here. And for exercises, or for example 3, in exercise 3, in example 4, I want you to try those ones on your own. Give them your best shot. All right. And then I will meet you for exercise 4. So go ahead and pause the video and do the next 3 on your own. Okay, exercise 4. 2 lines meet at a point where is also the endpoint of 2 rays. In a complete sentence, describe what's going on here and solve for x. All right, so I have a 90 degree, which is right here. All right, just something to note. And if I add these 2 together, then I'm going to find out what my x is. And if I see, oh, if I add those 2 together, then I have a vertical angle here if I included that 25 also. So if I can figure out what these 2 angles add up to, then I can set it equal to these 2. All right, so that's what we're going to set up. We're going to say 2x plus 3x is the same as 90 plus 25. So 2x plus 3x gives me 5x, which equals 115, adding those 2 together. So this whole angle here is 115 degrees, which means this whole angle needs to add up to 115 as well. So I'm going to divide by 5, and this tells me that x equals 23. So now let's check to make sure that we do get 115 over here. So we have 2 times 23, which is going to give me 46. And then we have 3 times 23, which is going to give me 69. So we have 46 and 69 Now, this is where we come in, add that calculator in real quick. Let's double check our work. So we have 46 plus 69. Yep, great. We get 115 degrees. So we did it correctly. So your sentence here would be that angle 90 and angle 25 added to 115. And since those two angles are 115, using vertical angles, 2x and 3x angles would also be 115. Okay, let's move to the last problem here. Exercise 5. All right, well, I should say the last problem I'm going to do with you because B is down here. Okay. Exercise 5. In a complete sentence, describe what's going on here. Solve for x. All right. I think we've read that same sentence many times now. I think we're good. Now, you can see that we have a 90 degree here because they gave us the 90 degree square. And we have 5x and 2x plus 20. So these two added together gives me 90. So I'm going to say 5x plus this whole angle measure here, which is 2x plus 20, is going to add up to equal 90 degrees. So I say 5x plus 2x gives me 7x. Bring down that 20. The reason I didn't include that 20 when I was adding that all up is because the 20 doesn't have a variable. To add the two together, they had to have the same variable. So bring down my 90. Now I'm going to solve for x. And to solve for x, I need to get rid of this 20. So I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides. Those cancel, and I get 7x equals 70. 7 times what gives me 70? Well, we all know that that is 10. So my x is 10. Now I'm not done because I need to go back in and fill this in. So I'm going to say we have 5 times 10, which is going to equal 50. So this angle measure right here is 50 degrees. And then I have this one here. So we're going to say 2 times 10 plus 20. So that's 20 plus 20, which is going to equal 40. So this angle measure right here is 40 degrees, and 50 plus 40 gives me 90. All right. The next problem here, which is B, it says Katrina was solving the problem above and wrote this equation, 7x plus 20 equals 90. Then she rewrote this as 7x plus 20 equals 70 plus 20. Why did she rewrite the equation this way? How did it help her to find what the value of x is? So I'm going to let you answer that one. And that ends this video tutorial.